What I'm about to tell you happened earlier this year, in February, during a stretch of nights where I swear something was wrong with the entire neighborhood. The kind of wrong you can't really put into words. The police reports, the random knocks people kept hearing, and the power outages that always seemed to happen past midnight. Everyone brushed it off as winter storms or kids messing around. But I don't think that's what was happening. I think there was something else. Something or someone walking around at night, checking houses, waiting for the right one. But I'll just tell you what happened to me. I live in a split-level house. Not large, not small. 3 steps up to the kitchen and bedrooms, 7 steps down to the lower level. Most people who come over say the same thing. Your house feels bigger on the inside. I get why. The main living room has this staircase right in the center. If you stand at the bottom of the lower stairs and look up, you can see straight through the railing into the living room and front door. It's a great house during the day, but at night, the layout makes it feel like your eyes are constantly being pulled toward the stairs, like you expect someone to be standing right there. It started on a Friday. I remember because I was exhausted from working a double shift and all I wanted to do was fall asleep on the couch. I grabbed a blanket, turned the living room TV to something mindless, and started dozing off. At some point, I switched the TV off, leaving just the dim light above the kitchen sink glowing from the upper level. The rest of the house was quiet. No dishwasher running, no heater kicking on, nothing. Around 1:30 a.m., I woke up suddenly. Not from a dream, not from a sound, just this weird instinct, that tightening in your chest like something is wrong, but your body realizes it before your mind does. The living room felt colder than before. I pulled my blanket up to my chest and blinked a few times, trying to adjust to the low light coming from the kitchen above. Everything looked normal. Couch, coffee table, stairs. Then I heard it. A single creak. One of the wooden steps down in the lower level. That staircase creaks every now and then, but only when someone steps directly on the edge of the 3rd step. And this wasn't some temperature expansion creak. It was weight shifting. The sound of someone placing their foot carefully, like they were trying not to be heard. I froze. I didn't even breathe. I turned my head slowly toward the staircase, expecting to see a shadow or movement, but there was nothing. Just the railing and behind it the faint darkness of the lower level. I sat up and listened. Silence. Then another creak. Same step. This time I heard the quietest brush of fabric, like someone adjusting their position. My stomach dropped. I knew instantly that something or someone was standing at the bottom of the stairs, watching, waiting. The problem is, from the living room sofa, I couldn't see the bottom 6 or 7 stairs. They dipped down just beyond my line of sight. If something was standing there, I wouldn't know unless it stepped forward into view. I reached for my phone on the coffee table. But even that tiny movement felt dangerously loud. I typed out a quick text to my neighbor, Ethan, asking if he was awake. I didn't explain why. I just needed someone to be alert. No response. I leaned over the edge of the couch a bit, trying to angle myself to see deeper down the staircase without actually getting up. But it was useless. The stairs disappeared beneath the railing, swallowed by darkness. That's when I realized something else. My front door was unlocked. I always lock it. Always. It's a habit that's practically a reflex. But when I had turned off the lights hours earlier, I remembered faintly hearing the deadbolt click. At the time, I assumed it was me locking it. Now, thinking back on it, I wasn't so sure. I reached down slowly, trying to slip on my shoes without making noise. I wasn't planning to run. I just didn't want to be barefoot in case I had to move fast. Right as I slid my left foot into my shoe, I heard the most distinct sound yet. The step below, the creaking, one shifting under weight. Something was coming up, one slow step at a time. I gripped the arm of the couch so tightly my nails bent. My heart was thudding so hard, I felt it in my throat. Every instinct I had screamed at me to run, bolt out the front door, leave the house entirely. But my body refused to move. The next step creaked. Then another. Whoever was there was moving slowly, deliberately, like they had all the time in the world. Like they were savoring the sound of each step. I slid my hand under the throw pillow next to me, searching for anything I could use as a weapon. My fingers wrapped around the cold metal TV remote, which wasn't exactly reassuring. The footsteps stopped. Whoever it was now stood just out of view, maybe 1 or 2 steps below the landing, close enough that if I leaned forward even slightly, I could probably see their head. But I didn't dare. Seconds passed. 10, 20, 30. Then I heard breathing. Not loud, just controlled, steady breathing, like someone quietly taking long breaths through their nose. I felt a wave of nausea hit me. Whoever was down there wasn't confused or lost. They weren't stumbling around in the dark. They were standing completely still, facing me, breathing, watching. I finally forced myself to speak, though my voice came out shaky and thin. "Who's there?" The breathing stopped instantly. Complete silence. I don't know why, but that was somehow worse. I stood up slowly, keeping my eyes locked on the top of the staircase, my body angled as far away as possible while still facing it. If something lunged, I wanted at least a fighting chance to sprint toward the door. But nothing moved. I reached for the lamp near the couch and flicked it on. For a split second, I thought I saw someone standing there. A shape, a darker mess in the shadows at the bottom of the stairs. The light hit the area weird, like it caught the outline of a shoulder or a head. Then the shape shifted backward so fast, I almost missed it. A retreat into darkness. A quiet shuffle of feet, a brushing sound, then nothing. I used to think sleep paralysis was just a sleep disorder, something random, harmless, easily explained by medical science. But after what happened to me last winter, I don't think that anymore. I don't think it was ever just my brain. I live in a small apartment on the top floor of an old brick building. You know the type. Creaky floors, thin walls, drafty windows. It was built in the 60s and it feels like it. My bedroom is narrow and long, barely wide enough for a queen bed and a nightstand. At the foot of my bed is a small closet. And to the right is a single window that faces a dim, flickering streetlight. The place used to feel cozy. Now it just feels wrong. This started on a Thursday night in January. I had fallen asleep around midnight after a long week of work. Nothing strange happened that day. Nothing unusual. Just a normal, boring Thursday. But sometime around 3 a.m., I woke up completely unable to move. At first, I wasn't scared. I knew what sleep paralysis was. I'd had it once or twice years before. It usually passed within a minute or so, but something was different this time. The air felt heavy, thick, like it had weight to it, and the room was unbelievably silent. No cars outside, no creaking pipes, nothing. Just dead, suffocating silence. My eyes were open, just barely. I could move them enough to see the window. The streetlight outside flickered once. then stayed lit. Then I heard it, breathing, not mine, not the slow, relaxed breaths of someone asleep. This breathing was shallow, wet, uneven, like someone struggling to inhale without making noise. It was coming from the side of my bed, very, very close. I tried to force my head to turn, but paralysis held me down like invisible restraints. My heartbeat was thundering in my chest, and I could feel sweat pooling under my back. The breathing continued, steady, quiet, patient. Then something shifted on the mattress. Just a little, but enough for me to feel the bed dip beside my legs, as if someone had put their weight on it. I wanted to scream, but all I could manage was a faint rasp of air through my nose. My eyes strained toward the far side of the room, where the closet door stood slightly ajar, just a sliver. I always close it completely before bed. Always. But now it was open enough for darkness to spill out. The breathing got closer. Then a hand touched my ankle, cold, bony, not human. I couldn't see it, but I felt the shape of it. The fingers were too long, the grip too light, like someone curious rather than aggressive. My vision blurred with tears. My chest felt like it was being crushed. I tried again, desperately, to move even a finger. Nothing. The hand slid slowly, gently up my leg. When it reached my knee, the breathing moved closer to my ear. It was right next to me now, leaning over my body. I felt something brush my cheek. Then a voice, not words, but a sound, guttural, low, like a broken inhale struggling to form speech. And then the bed shifted again, more weight being added, as if the thing was climbing up beside me. I closed my eyes, trying to force myself awake. My body stayed frozen. Then finally, something changed. A loud bang echoed from the apartment above mine. Not unusual, my upstairs neighbor was always dropping stuff. But that sound broke something inside the moment. The grip on my leg released. The breathing stopped. The weight lifted. And just like that, I could move again. I shot up, gasping for air, scrambling to turn on the lamp. The room flooded with warm yellow light, and everything looked normal. No one beside me. No footprints on the floor. No weird shadows. Just my empty room. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I checked the closet. Inside, nothing except clothes and old boxes. But something was wrong. Everything smelled faintly like soil. Damp, cold, earthy soil. Like someone had been lying in the dirt. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe something leaked from the upstairs apartment. Maybe humidity. Maybe mold. But the smell faded after a few hours and never returned. For a few weeks, nothing happened. I convinced myself it was just a hallucination. Something between dreaming and waking. Until it happened again. This time, I wasn't asleep. It was a Saturday evening. I dozed off on the couch watching TV. Around 11 p.m., I got up to grab a drink and walked to my bedroom to get my phone. The moment I reached the doorway, my stomach dropped. Something was standing beside my bed. A tall silhouette, unmoving, head tilted toward the window. It was just standing there, staring out. The dim streetlight outlined it, long limbs, hunched posture, impossibly still. I blinked hard. Once, twice. It didn't disappear. I backed into the hallway, heart beating so loud I could feel it in my teeth. I grabbed the nearest thing, a broom of all things, and flicked the hallway light on. In the split second before the bedroom light flooded in, I swear I saw it turn its head toward me. Then, gone. Nothing there. No silhouette, no figure, nothing. I stood in the doorway for several minutes, sweeping the broom around like I was fencing a ghost. I didn't sleep in that room for 3 nights. But the worst part, the part I still don't understand, came a week later. I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, finally feeling comfortable again. I turned off the screen, rolled over, and tried to sleep. Several minutes later, my eyes began to droop, and then I heard it. That same wet, uneven breathing. But this time, it wasn't beside my bed. It was under it, right below where my head was resting. Soft, slow, like someone lying on the floor inches beneath me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then, something pressed upward against the mattress, right under my shoulder. A slow, steady push, like a hand or a face. I bolted out of bed so fast, I lost my balance and crashed into the dresser. I scrambled to the door, flipped on the light, and spun around. The blanket had a clear imprint on it. Something had been pressing from beneath, hard. I pushed the bed away from the wall and dropped to my knees, expecting God, I don't even know what, to be staring into a pair of eyes. There was nothing, just the wooden floor, silent, empty. But the breathing continued, not under the bed, not beside me, inside the closet. I could hear it, slow, patient, waiting. That closet door has stayed locked ever since. I moved out 3 months later, and to this day, every once in a while, usually around 3 a.m., I wake up in my new apartment and hear breathing in the dark. Soft, wet, uneven, and I know I didn't leave that thing behind. I live in a rural part of northern Washington, where the nights feel heavier than they should. The darkness out here doesn't just settle, it presses like it's aware of you. My house is surrounded by thick evergreens, and even though I've lived here for 5 years, the silence still hits differently at night. This happened last October, a little after 2:15 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was in my kitchen attempting to bake muffins I promised to bring to work the next day. I know, who bakes that late? Insomnia does weird things to you. Everything was quiet. The only sound was the gentle hum of my refrigerator and the occasional crackle from the cooling oven. My kitchen window sits above the sink, facing the tree line. It's my least favorite part of the house. It's just too easy for something to be watching from the dark. But that night, the window saved me. I was mixing batter when I noticed a glow reflecting in the glass. At first, I chalked it up to my own kitchen lights, but this glow was different, fainter, softer. Like the beam of a phone screen. I frowned and leaned closer to the window. That's when I realized something horrifying. The glow wasn't inside my house. It was outside, somewhere between my backyard fence and the trees. Someone was out there. I froze, holding my breath without meaning to. The light moved slightly, then steadied again, like someone adjusting their position. I could see no shape, no silhouette. Just that faint, eerie white-blue glow hanging in the darkness. I whispered to myself, who the hell is out there? My dog, Penny, was asleep on the couch, so she didn't give any warning. If anything, her silence made everything worse. I slowly reached over and turned off the kitchen light. And that moment, that exact moment, the room darkened. The light outside shut off. Total blackness. Dead silent. Like whoever was out there knew I was watching them. I stood there, leaning on the counter with my heart punching my ribs, straining to hear anything, footsteps, breathing. anything. Then came the first sound. Leaves crunching. Slow, deliberate. Someone was walking closer. I backed away from the window, my hand searching the countertop for anything that would make a good weapon. I grabbed a metal whisk. Not exactly intimidating, but it was something. The steps stopped. Then, a soft tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Not on the door, not on the siding, but on the glass of my kitchen window. I nearly dropped the whisk. I didn't speak. I didn't breathe. I just stared at that window, praying, pleading that the tapping wasn't real. But then it happened again. Tap, tap. Whoever it was had zero hesitation. I forced myself to move, tiptoeing backwards into the hallway. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaking hands. The dispatcher answered. I whispered, "Someone's outside my window." They tapped on it. "Please send someone." She told me to stay somewhere safe and quiet. I ducked into my pantry, crouching behind bags of flour like a terrified child hiding from a monster. While I waited for the police, I heard something new. Breathing, not loud, but audible enough through the thin glass. Ragged, uneven, like someone who had sprinted a long distance and was trying to stay quiet. Then came a sound that nearly made me scream. The window creaked. Not open, just a soft shift in the frame, like pressure being applied, like someone testing it. The dispatcher asked if I was still there. I whispered yes, barely audible. She told me officers were minutes away. Minutes felt like a lifetime. Then, a voice, muffled, but chillingly clear. "I can see you." It wasn't angry. It wasn't even excited. It was matter of fact, like a person stating the weather. I slapped my hand over my mouth to keep from making a noise. The breathing got louder, closer. Then something scraped the glass, like a fingernail dragging slowly across it. That was the moment I snapped out of my frozen panic. I bolted out of the pantry, grabbed Penny from the couch, and ran into my bedroom, locking the door. Penny sensed my fear instantly and began shaking in my arms. From my room, I could hear faint sounds, footsteps moving along the exterior wall. Then another window being tapped. Then another. It was like whoever was out there was circling my house. The patrol car finally arrived, sirens blaring. The sudden burst of noise scared Penny so badly she yelped, but I clung to her tighter, whispering that it was okay. I heard the officers shouting outside, heavy footsteps in my yard. Then silence. One of the officers knocked on my door. I opened it just enough to see their reflective vest. They told me they found fresh footprints leading from the woods straight up to my kitchen window, then around the house, and then back into the woods. But whoever it was had vanished. They walked the perimeter with flashlights but found nothing else. No dropped phone, no signs of forced entry, nothing that would help identify the person. Before leaving, one of the officers said something that has stuck with me. If you hadn't turned off your lights, they probably wouldn't have known you were at the window. They were watching you first. I didn't sleep that night, or the night after, or the night after that. I installed motion lights the following week. I installed cameras everywhere I could afford. I double-check every lock before bed. But here's the part that still haunts me. 2 days later, when I reviewed footage from the night of the incident, every camera pointed at the backyard had been disabled. Not broken, not unplugged, just turned off manually. Someone knew exactly where they were. Someone had been there before, and I'm terrified they'll come back.